So this was a very big day, a very revealing day. As you see, their case is totally falling apart. They have nothing on books and records, and even something that should bear very little relationship to the case. It's just a disaster for the DA, for the Soros-backed DA. It's a disaster. This whole case is just a disaster. If you read the legal scholars, you'll see, because they're writing about it, they've never seen anything quite like it. And neither have I.
Huge day today in the sham trial in New York, conducted by, you heard it from the former president, Alvin Do-Nothing Bragg, and the fake Don John, Judge Juan Merchan. I'm going to give you everything you need to know about probably the biggest witness besides the serial perjurer Michael Cohen, basically the witness that the entire case is hinging on, and that is Stormy Daniels, the porn actress, who's kind of at the real apex of this case. And even though there really has been no crime, there's been no victim, there's been no alleged misconduct, everything has been on the up, and Trump keeps getting fined over and over again for gag orders or violating gag orders. This charade just keeps going on. Here's something that's really, really important. I quote, this is from Trump's defense lawyer, Susan Nichols, or Neschels. I don't know how to pronounce that. Quote, "You were looking to extort money from President Trump." Quote, "False," end quote, Daniels responded. Stormy Daniels. Quote, "Well, that's what you did," end quote, the lawyer said. Quote, "False," end quote, Daniels answered. This is Trump's defense attorney, Nichols, was questioning why Daniels decided to sell her story when, as she testified, a stranger had threatened her to keep quiet after a gossip site reported that she had a sexual encounter with Trump. And then she says, "I was very different and a much braver person in 2016 than I was in 2011. And Donald Trump was not just a guy on television. He was running for president." But I think the most damning evidence against the prosecution in this case is when she said, while speaking with former President Trump, he never offered her a penny and never told her to keep silent, which would imply that he never tried to hide the story for political purposes. I mean, that should be the end of the trial right there. She also said Cohen worked out the payment agreement with her. Once again, this puts Cohen on the hook, not Trump. Cohen made every agreement, and Trump was at no point involved. This entire case essentially will come down to former President Trump's word and the evidence versus Michael Cohen, who is a known convicted felon, TikTok live streaming, monetizing, talking about the case when he shouldn't be, who's lied to authorities on multiple occasions. I mean, it seems that if this wasn't a political witch hunt by Alvin Do-Nothing Bragg and Letitia Big Shame James and the Biden-Obama consortium, this case should be shut down. It would be shut down. Now, a lot of these left-wing woke mob, mind virus mafia members, they're making a big deal out of, this sort of characterization of the former president, and things that he said. Like he said something like, "Oh, don't worry, me and Melania, we don't sleep in the same room." And that seemed to be a real big talking point on MSNBC and all this woke media, as well as on a lot of social media platforms. I don't know a married guy who sleeps in the same room with his wife. I don't sleep in the same room with my wife, and we have an amazing marriage. We've been married over 13 years. We love each other dearly. We don't have to sleep in the same room. We do sometimes, but most of the times we don't. That's not even a big deal. As a matter of fact, if you're married or if you know somebody who's married, let me know in the comments. Do you sleep in the same room with your spouse? I mean, I don't know that many people who do. But of course, they made it a huge deal. "Oh, he told her, don't worry, I don't sleep in the same room. He's not even really, she's just a trophy wife. They're not even really." No, that's all a bunch of BS. That's called marriage. At one point, the Trump's attorneys, his law team, moved for a mistrial. And they asked Judge fake Don Juan Merchan to consider this a mistrial, and it was denied by the judge. They say that the Stormy Daniels testimony was completely different from what she said in 2016, which was correct. And the only purpose of her testimony was to embarrass Trump and to inflame the jury. She went into intimate, very gruesome, repulsive details about the entire act, the entire sexual encounter with Trump. And it's just gory. I mean, you could probably find it someplace else, but it talks about the size of his you-know-what. It talks about the positions they engaged in. She talks in very negative, inflammatory ways about how bad the experience was, how at one point saying it wasn't even consensual, which is nuts. So I think Trump's defense team had a really good point here at one point during, I think right before the end of Stormy Daniels' testimony. They filed and asked the judge for a mistrial, only based on the basis that this was all just inflammatory and was completely contradictory testimony from what she had stated before. The judge denied the request, although he did agree with Trump's team. He said, I quote, "I think the witness was a little difficult to control," end quote. But here's the real baffling thing. If the judge agrees the jury has been prejudiced, how can the trial continue? I mean, he's basically admitting that the jury was biased and was exposed to bias. I don't understand how this case is not completely thrown out. Do you? Let me know in the comments. Stormy Daniels also testified that Trump said that, "Oh, you remind me of my daughter," which, we have no idea what the context of that is. We have no idea if he just meant that, yeah, you're a strong, independent, smart woman. She's implying that there's some sort of pseudo, incestuous relation there or meaning behind that. But I don't think there's no evidence to prove. It's all hearsay. And again, Trump's legal team is completely accurate in saying this does nothing but prejudice and inflame the jury. There was even at one point where she stated that he, used a magazine to spank her, and that some of the jurors actually had to control themselves from laughing.
Jurors, Casey?
Just one thing that I've been sort of noticing as this has gone on is that there have been a couple times where she seems to be cracking a joke, trying to get a reaction from the jury, and our reporters in the room have noted that the jury hasn't seemed to respond
No, they're
to
taking
that.
their job seriously.
I mean, what do you make of that?
Humor is risky in the courtroom, especially if you go in with lines, like it looks like Stormy. If something happens spontaneously, if an easel falls over, people will laugh. They're human. But it's never going to work if you go in there like, I'm going to amuse the jury. I'm going to sort of say this clever thing.
Why on earth would you crack jokes with the jury? I don't understand the validity. I don't understand the credibility of Stormy Daniels. She has changed her story so many times, multiple times. She has lied multiple times. And then you have her statements in writing that she made in 2018. Check these out, too, as a matter of fact. This was in January 2018. To whom it may concern, I recently became aware that certain news outlets are alleging that I had a sexual or romantic affair with Donald Trump many years ago. I am stating with complete clarity that this is absolutely false. Rumors that I've received hush money are completely false. Signed statements from her, but that's not the only one. Check this one out. This was dated January 30th, 2018, to whom it may concern. Over the past few weeks, I've been asked countless many times to comment on the alleged sexual relationship I had with Donald Trump. The fact of the matter is, I'm not denying this affair because I was paid hush money as has been reported. I'm denying this affair because it never happened. Signed, Stormy Daniels. I also think this is worth noting. This is sort of kind of defamed former attorney of Stormy Daniels, Michael Avenatti, who made a statement. Will D.A. Bragg or others charge Stormy Daniels with fraud and falsification of business records? I wonder if Trump's team will call him up to testify. But basically, he says, last June, I was contacted by producer Sarah Gibson, who requested that I assist with a documentary about my former client, Stormy Daniels. I had filed Daniels as a client in February of 2019. On June 25th, 2023, at 12:09 p.m. Pacific time, I spoke with Mrs. Gibson by phone on a recorded line and asked her a number of questions so I could determine whether I would agree to participate. I was particularly interested in knowing whether the project was going to be legitimate and fair, or instead a puff piece designed to put Daniels in favorable light while ignoring facts and trashing me and Donald Trump. I wanted nothing to do with the project if it was the latter. Mrs. Gibson told me that Daniels was being paid for the documentary, but that was because she owed Trump hundreds of thousands of dollars from a judgment Trump was trying to collect from Daniels. They, Daniels, Gibson, and others, had come up with a plan that would allow Daniels to be secretly paid while at the same time keeping the payments, plural, from Trump and his attorneys. Among other things, she told me that they had fictionally optioned the rights to Daniels' book and then routed the money Daniels demanded through a fabricated trust that had been set up in the name of Daniels' daughter, all to hide the money from Trump and avoid paying the judgment. What do you make of that, Nez Nation? Michael Avenatti then said, and I posted this on our community tab on YouTube, Keith Davidson is lying. After I confronted, he's talking about Keith Davidson, Stormy Daniels' own attorney. After I confronted her with her own text messages, Daniels admitted to me in early 2019 that she and Davidson had extorted Trump in October 2016. It was a shakedown, he says. This is one of the many reasons I fired her as my client in February 2019. Now, she claims she fired him. So I'm not really a super big fan of Michael Avenatti. I think he's sort of a spotlight chaser, clout chaser, and he doesn't really have the best of intentions, or at least the most integrity out there for attorneys as they go, relatively speaking. But it just further adds, again, that sort of same thing with Cash Money G, that odor of mendacity, that appearance of impropriety, that appearance of you're not a credible witness. Here's some really telling testimony when Trump's attorney Nichols is questioning her. She says, quote, "You weren't terrified, you just wanted to make money, right?" And Stormy Daniels responds, "I just had to change my tactic because it was a new ballgame now that Trump was a presidential candidate." So she admits she changed her tune and asked for more money to keep a story hidden. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's extortion. Here's another instance of Stormy Daniels being once again found caught in a lie, under oath this time. She said earlier during testimony that she didn't care about the money, but then just told prosecutors that she had her attorney send a threatening letter demanding money or the deal was off. She canceled that original deal before later making a new deal. All of the contact was done between her attorney and serial perjurer, TikTok live streamer, make money on anything, Michael Cohen. And then I think maybe one of the most embarrassing moments for Stormy Daniels on the stand is when she was caught in a lie using her own book against her. In her book, quote, Full Disclosure, Stormy said that while talking to Gloria Allred, the famous attorney, she denied having a relationship with Trump. But Daniels testified that she told Allred otherwise. So when presented with the book, Daniels was kind of speechless for a moment before saying, I denied it in a phone conversation. But when I met her in person, I told her everything. So it just doesn't make any sense. You know, Susan Nichols, Trump's attorney, pressed her on this, and she just stood there speechless for a second. So we have very conflicting testimony, very conflicting ideas, thoughts, what really happened, what she really thought. She just says one thing and then is proven wrong in the very next instance. At one point, she admitted on the stand during cross-examination that she hates President Donald Trump. When asked if she wants him to go to jail, she said, quote, I want him to be held accountable. If that's not a clearly biased witness, and if that doesn't, demand judiciously that she's removed from the stand, I just think this entire case is a joke. How could Alvin Do Nothing Bragg, how could he not be investigated for this? Like I said before, I truly believe that Stormy Daniels may have helped Trump just win this case more than she's aware of, more than the prosecution is aware of. All of her testimony just seems completely contradictory, falsified. It's justified to prove that she is a biased witness, that she inflamed and prejudiced the jury. Not only that, but she never put Trump in the kind of mix of payments made between her lawyer and Michael Cohen. If anything, she pinned everything on Michael Cohen. He was the only one who was really in charge of any of those transactions. Trump was nowhere in sight. So I don't see how this sham trial, which is a waste of everybody's time, it's a waste of American taxpayers' resources, it's a waste of the judicial system, the criminal system's time, energy, focus. He should definitely be allowed to go campaign. He should not be thwarted by these sham trials. Every one of them. It's not just one. Every one of these trials have been proven to be a complete and falsified train wreck. I want to hear from you, Nez Nation. What do you guys think of Stormy Daniels, who took the stand? What do you think is going to happen with Michael Cohen, who's going to probably take the stand very soon? Do you think that this case should move forward? Do you think it shouldn't move forward? I throw this off to you. I want to hear from you. As always, I try really, really hard to respond to all the comments, but it's literally impossible for me to do so. So consider becoming a member. It only costs you a cup of coffee to support the greatest channel on earth, searching for the truth, trying to get our country back, covering everything due diligently that mainstream corporate state media won't cover. I'll leave links in the description, show notes, and in the comments below, as well as our free newsletter. Make sure you sign up for that because you get everything in your inbox. So make sure you sign up for that. Check out these videos coming up on the screen. This one I just posted today. Follow, subscribe. God bless you. And may God bless America. I'll see you soon.